The expansion of the universe. In the early 7th century, the idea that the universe was growing outward in all directions was completely unknown to humanity. Astronomers only confirmed this in the 20th century when Edwin Hubble observed that distant galaxies were moving away from us at measurable speeds. The Quran, in chapter 51, contains a verse describing the sky as being built with great power and that it is continuously expanding. The Arabic word used, musiyun, directly translates to the concept of expanding or widening. At a time when no human had the tools, the telescopes, or the mathematics to understand cosmic expansion, this description stood alone. The barrier between two seas. Along certain narrow straits, two bodies of water sit side by side, yet refuse to become one. The Strait of Gibraltar is one of the most striking examples, where the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea meet in a clearly visible boundary. Despite being in constant contact, the two bodies maintain separate temperatures, salinity levels, and densities, with a natural barrier between them that prevents full mixing. The Quran mentions this phenomenon directly, describing two seas that meet, yet have a barrier between them that neither transgresses. Marine science only began explaining the mechanics of this boundary in modern times.
The formation of the human embryo. 7th century Arabia had no microscope, no biology textbooks, and no understanding of cellular development. Yet the Quran describes the stages of human development in a sequence that modern embryology has since confirmed. It describes a clot, then a lump of flesh, then the formation of bones, and then the covering of bones with flesh. The Arabic word alaka, used in this description, carries meanings of a leech-like form and something that clings, which closely matches the appearance and behavior of an early embryo in its implanted state.
Surah al-Rum miracle. In 614 CE, the Persian Empire crushed the Byzantines, capturing Jerusalem and sweeping through the Levant. Their collapse seemed total. At that moment, verses were revealed stating the Byzantines had been defeated but would overcome within a few years. The Arabic word bidi, used for a few, specifically means a number between 3 and 9. By 627 CE, Emperor Heraclius defeated the Persians at the Battle of Nineveh, landing exactly within that window. The same verses describe the location using the phrase Adna al-Ard, long translated as the nearest land. But the same word also means the lowest. Modern topography confirmed that the Dead Sea region, where those defeats took place, is the lowest point of dry land on Earth, over 400 meters below sea level. One phrase, two precise meanings, neither verifiable by anyone in 7th century Arabia.
The mountains as stabilizer. For most of human history, mountains were simply seen as large formations of rock rising above the land. The Quran describes them as pegs or stakes driven into the earth, suggesting they extend deep below the surface and serve to stabilize the ground. Geologists now understand that mountains have deep roots beneath them, sometimes reaching several times their visible height into the crust. This root structure plays a role in the balance of the Earth's crust through a process called isostasy. The idea that mountains function like anchors, rather than simply sitting on top of the ground, was not scientifically established until the 19th century at the earliest.
The darkness of the deep ocean. The deep sea is one of the most inaccessible places on Earth. Until the invention of modern submersibles, no human had ever descended far enough to experience its conditions firsthand. The Quran describes darkness in the deep ocean as layers upon layers, so deep that if a person extends their hand, they cannot see it. And it also separately mentions waves beneath the surface. Oceanographers confirmed intermal ocean waves and the layered nature of deep-sea darkness only in modern times. The description in the Quran treats these as two distinct phenomena occurring simultaneously, which matches scientific observation. The uniqueness of fingerprints. In a passage about resurrection, the Quran makes a reference to the ability to reassemble even the tips of a person's fingers. At face value, this might seem like a simple statement about physical restoration, but fingerprints were not recognized as individually unique identifiers until the late 19th century. Before that, the idea that the pattern at the tip of your finger was distinct to you alone was not common knowledge. Many scholars point to this verse as implying not just restoration, but the recreation of something uniquely individual. The water cycle, the movement of water from the ocean to the sky and back to the land through rain and rivers, is now taught in elementary school. But the full understanding of this cycle as a continuous system was not scientifically described until Bernard Palissy developed his theory of the water cycle in the 16th century. The Quran describes rain coming down from the sky, soaking into the earth, gathering into rivers, and returning to the sea, with clouds being driven by wind and water being sent down in precise measure. The language used suggests an awareness of water as a circulating system rather than a one-time event, which was far ahead of the prevailing understanding of the time.
Iron and its cosmic origin. The Quran contains a chapter called Al-Hadi, which means iron. In it, there is a verse stating that iron was sent down from above with great strength and benefits for mankind. For centuries, this was read simply as a metaphor or a reference to divine provision. Modern astrophysics has since determined that iron cannot be produced within stars the size of our sun. The element is actually formed in supernova explosions of massive stars and then dispersed across space, eventually becoming part of forming planets. Earth's iron, including the iron in every tool and structure humans have ever built, did in fact arrive from above, carried here through cosmic processes.
The social behavior of ants. In chapter 27 of the Quran, there is a passage describing an ant that speaks to a colony, warning them to retreat into their homes before being unknowingly crushed, depicting ants as having a form of community language and social coordination. Modern myrmecology, the study of ants, has confirmed that ants communicate through chemical signals and sounds, and that they coordinate colony behavior in response to external threats. The fact that the Quran depicts this behavior rather than depicting ants as acting randomly reflects an accuracy that was not scientifically verified until centuries later.
The social structure of bees. The Quran refers directly to bees, describing how they build homes in mountains, trees, and constructed structures, and how from their bodies comes a drink of varying colors that contains healing. The Arabic used implies the drink originates from within the bee's body itself, not simply collected from outside. Modern biology confirmed that bees carry two separate stomachs, one for digestion and one exclusively for storing nectar, which is then processed internally before becoming honey. Beyond this, the Arabic verb forms used when addressing the bee are feminine, indicating that the active workers of the hive are female. Beekeeping had existed for centuries, yet the understanding that worker bees are female, that the hive operates under a queen, and that honey is produced through an internal bodily process was not documented as biological fact until centuries after the revelation.
The preservation of the Quran itself. Unlike many ancient texts that have survived in fragments with disputed versions or significant alterations over centuries, the Quran exists today in a single unified version that has remained textually consistent since its first compilation. The Quran contains a verse in which it states that it is a reminder and that its preservation is guaranteed. Scholars of linguistics and manuscript history have noted that no other book of comparable age has maintained such a level of textual consistency across centuries, continents, and cultures. Millions of people across the world have memorized it word for word in its original Arabic, a tradition that has remained unbroken since the 7th century.